Welcome to Joa Fitness Health Wellness Video Podcast, a space to ignite your day through positive conversations. We bring people that have created excellence in their life, sharing high vibration in their reawakening path.
Hello, my friends. Happy Friday. My name is Joa Rivas, and I'm the host of Joa Fitness channel. If this is the first time that you are tuning in, I want to welcome you to learn about your posture and about your spinal health. I am a yoga and Pilates teacher from 2010, and it's been over 20 years of learning of my own experience in my life because I have a back pain. And back in the day, when I was 15, I had scoliosis. And I was diagnosed with this, which affected me tremendously, especially when I was sleeping. I was waking up with pain and going to sleep with pain, which it wasn't a normal thing for a 15-years old teenager. I was diagnosed with scoliosis, and it happens that after practicing yoga and Pilates and doing a lot of therapies with so many practitioners, that thank you so much for helping me, I got better. And then since then, I've been learning so much about my body up to now, especially through pandemic, that I've been putting together programs that helps people to understand the brain-body connection. And one of the main goals of this podcast that you are tuning in this moment is to learn solutions and ways to decrease your back pain and to understand the brain-body connection that we have. So today we have a great new guest. So always when I have a new guest, it takes a little bit of time to learn and to introduce who they are and understand what's the story and why they're so interested about the spinal health like me. So today we have Dr. Vincenzo Romualdi. He's Italian, and according to my ancestral genetics search, I am 0.5% of my genetics are Italian too.
Amazing.
So we're here connecting our lands and our spirit in one. So we have Dr. Vincenzo. He actually is in Toronto, and he is excited to bring 4 topics. As you know, I like to deep dive into topics that are looking into different perspectives what we never thought. And Vincenzo is going to share 4 topics for the next 4 weeks. If you have questions, please come to us and then tell us anything in our social media channels that I'm going to be sharing with you on the notes, and also to ask anything for the next episode, because we're going to have Vincenzo for the next 4 weeks. So thank you, Vincenzo, for being part of our community of awareness. And how are you today, first of all? How are you?
Hi, Joa. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm great today. I'm looking forward to a great day to come. I got some patients later on and really looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you, Vincenzo. ¿Cómo está? You know, I went to Italy last year and I love Italy. I love the spirit of Italy. Italian people are really present and very paying attention on every detail. They're so into details. When they have their front door is full of flowers, and they pay attention on the colors and the contrast. So I know that Italians have this different way to really put attention in every single detail. And it's something that I love and I admire from this culture. Vincenzo and we actually connected together in our therapies. I actually was doing a recovery therapy that I do every week. I choose to do a recovery therapy because there is also a way for us to not only give and taking. We have to get a balance between both of it. So sometimes we train really hard and we forget about recovery, and sometimes we are pushing so much in our fight and flight hormones, and we forget to actually relax. So I do every week a recovery therapy session. And it happens that he was part of this session. At the same time with me, we got to cross life, and we got to talk about health and spinal health. We're like, okay, it's such a funny coincidence. It seems like we both have the same passion about spinal health. And Vincenzo helps us to breathe and to understand that the breath work is something very important to work, to be able to calm our parasympathetic and to relax and to come into more of awareness about our body through breath. So very exciting. We did cold therapy and sauna, and we were practicing all this breath work as we were exposing our bodies to different temperatures. We went to an infrared sauna, right, Vincenzo?
Yep. It was a mix of infrared and stone, and so it gets the temperature right up there, so you can experience the extremes. Yeah.
We also use essential oils. He was pouring on that essential oils, a health pass, to create some aromatherapy in top of the heat exposure. And we did some breath work. Then we also challenged ourselves to connect our breath in the cold exposure. And this was a really nice technique. We practiced 3 minutes on the first time. We did a connection with the sound healing. So he was kindly and gently playing the singing bowls as I was just there, deep connecting to my breath, really focusing on deep breath and holding the pauses of the breath. I reached 3 minutes, very calming and very relaxing, which is something that it takes only willpower to get to this point. Thank you so much, Vincenzo, for putting that sound healing. Was really helpful. And then
my pleasure.
Yes. And on the second time, we tried humming and singing and chanting, because there is actually a correlation of vagus nerve relaxation with sounds that come from your throat. So we actually said, like, why don't we just do cold exposure with humming or chanting? And he actually is a singer. He's actually a singer. So Vincenzo, thank you. That's how we met. We met actually doing a therapy together, and this is an spa in the city of Toronto. If you are anywhere where you are listening to this podcast, we actually invite you to check your community, see what's available, because it's so important to see people that are like-minded like you. You may meet them and learn so much from them, and actually do this type of therapy together, which actually it makes you a little bit more committed, because it's like, okay, I'm not here alone, somebody's with me, they're guiding me, I'm here just learning together. So that's actually super exciting. That's how I met Dr. Vincenzo. Now, here in this conversation, we're going to be going deep into the specific topic, which basically today is the 3 T's, which I love anything related to acronyms, because we always remember acronyms. The 3 T's. T's are related this time to T's that affect us, our body. Basically, we have the toxins, the traumas, and the thoughts. Those are 3 T's, but we can continue going from that to like toxics, technology, and many others, but we're going to focus just on the 3 T's. Now, for those who know Dr. Vincenzo and want to know a little bit more, he is a chiropractor in Toronto. He's focusing on realizing that the bodies it has a great potential to improve. And he is actually graduated in the University of Waterloo as a Bachelors in Kinesiology. And same like me, he's a big traveler. He went to New Zealand, only way on the other part of the world. And he took the chiropractic college, becoming a chiropractor, but he was already a kinesiologist, so he already has that knowledge about the anatomy, bringing the chiropractic now in the practice. He's ready to serve and share his knowledge to attain how the body functions, and take you into the steps of how to change and how to create routines for big impact in our future now. In the future now, as you see, we just did a therapy last week, and we got to see results right away. I always tell people that the best time to do changes is today. Don't wait for tomorrow, and you actually can do it today. And one of our goals is to give you ideas of what to do now, not tomorrow, but actually just now. So let's get to go on the gritty media of today. So let's tell me a little bit about these 3 T's, about toxins, traumas, and thoughts. What are the origin of these issues nowadays with all these pandemic issues that are actually affecting our stress?
Yeah, so it's not even just the current moment that you're experiencing these stresses. It's from the day you're born to today, right now, and everything in between. So these 3 T's that you mentioned, and thank you for such a beautiful introduction. I really appreciate you going in depth and giving a little background as to who I am, because I feel like for the listeners, it provides them with more of a comfort level to hear what I'm about to say. So the 3 T's are toxins, as you mentioned before, toxins, traumas, and thoughts. And what these relate to are the majority of the stresses that your body goes through. Now, in terms of stresses, more so I deal with the physical type of stress. The stresses your body goes through because of the posture, poor posture, the postures you assume all day, the posture you sleep in, some traumas that you may have experienced, a motor vehicle accident when you were younger, a slip or fall a couple days ago, throwing out your back, picking up your kid, like all these traumas, all these physical stresses you have in your life influence your body and the patterns and how they adapt to the stresses. So as a chiropractor, my job is to see exactly what stresses have been put on people's systems and spines, and what habits your system and spine have formed because of those stresses. And so the initial phase of care is breaking down those habits, breaking down those stresses of your spine that have been put on your spine, and making room for a new habit to be formed so that you're more resilient. A lot of people wait for something to be wrong to fix it. A lot of people have stress in their life and their body adapts to stress. My job is to make your body so resilient that instead of your body adapting to stress, stress is adapting to your body. And so we do this by addressing what causes these adaptations in the first place. So the physical stress, if we want to get into that a little bit, like I mentioned before, can be things like poor posture. A lot of people don't think about this, but the way you sleep can really affect how your posture is. And that's just because we sleep almost a third of our life, right? And if you're not sleeping properly, you're not giving your body a chance to heal and rest and rejuvenate. You're waking up with stress and tension, and that's not something you want to be doing. You sleep to recharge. You don't sleep to wake up with more pain or more discomfort or furthering your poor posture. So in terms of the physical stresses, some great things you can start implementing to not only combat the poor posture, but help with your spinal health is some aerobic exercises. And I know you've heard this time and time and time again, like go for a jog, go for a run, get your heart rate up. But there's fun aerobic exercises too, like dancing or hiking. And one that actually surprised me the most was walking. Now, running, you'll obviously get if you run 1 mile, you'll obviously get 100% benefit of that run, of that 1 mile. But if you were to walk the same mile, there's a study out of, I believe, Harvard that showed that you actually get 60% of the benefit of that mile if you walked instead of run. So walking actually gives you a lot of the benefits of that aerobic exercise you're trying to achieve. It's easy to do. I know a lot of people don't like running because of, the physical exertion it takes. It's a mental game as well, but walking actually has a great amount of benefits you can get from aerobic exercise. And aerobic exercise is great because not only does it help to reduce stress hormones such as cortisol or adrenaline, but it also helps to produce endorphins, which kind of leave you with a natural high. Have you ever heard of runner's high? So that is produced from endorphins. And so through adding a aerobic exercise into your daily or weekly routine, it can really help to combat those physical stresses you've gone through. Now, obviously, there's a lot more other physical stresses that your body goes through. And unfortunately, I won't be able to talk about them all today, but like we mentioned before, I do have that YouTube channel or those social media links where I post a bunch of condition-based videos and how to deal with them at home between your care. So you're maximizing your care in between your chiropractic adjustments.
As we are coming into this topic, talking about stressors and how the stress can affect our bodies, and then you're giving us a little bit of solutions that we have for free, literally, like anyone can just take a walk in between your lunch break and perhaps take a walk. I particularly like to take a walk next to nature, like a nature walk is really helpful. And in a springtime, which is, we're actually starting a spring in Toronto, and for those in the South Hemisphere, they're starting autumn. And still both are okay to take a walk on a bare feet. Actually, I like to take earthing practice, which is basically walking bare feet on anywhere where you have access. So at the same time, you'll get to release those negative electrons that are accumulated in our body by using electronics and all this. So I actually combine the earthing with the nature walking practice when I can. Of course, in Toronto, we have about 6 months of cold weather with ice on the floor. Those months, I just focus on breathing. I definitely not want to walk on ice. I'm not Wim Hof pro yet. But definitely walking bare feet on the park, on the sand, on the beach always helps so much to calm down and relax our nerve system. Definitely, I see that.
Yeah, walking outside is one of my favorite things to do because you also get the vitamin D from the sun as well. So it's great sun exposure, and it's great for your mental health, which is actually the next T we're going to talk about. So the next T is thoughts, and this stress in your life can come in the form of emotional or mental stress, right? And a lot of people are going through this, especially with the lockdowns and the current pandemic we went through. And so emotional stress and your thoughts are a big portion of your health in terms of your mental health. And coming back to sleeping, when you're able to sleep properly, you wake up more energized, you wake up happier, you wake up refreshed. So I always encourage people who are going through emotional stresses, mental stresses, to work on their sleep, because if you sleep better, you're going to be happier. And that's just what I found personally, and what I found by giving advice to my practice members, and what I found has worked. So there's 3 positions you sleep in, on your side, on your stomach, or your back. Now, I'll tell you right off the bat, on your stomach is definitely something you should not be doing, just for the simple fact that if you're on your stomach, your neck and your head only have one of 2 ways it can go, right? Left or right. And if you take your hand and you bend back your fingers like this and add a little tension in there and hold that for 10 seconds, it's going to produce a stiffness in the joints of your fingers. Now that stiffness is similar to what your neck is experiencing, but instead of for 10 seconds, it's experiencing for 8 hours over the duration of your sleep over the night. So definitely don't want to be sleeping on your stomach. Now, the other 2 positions you can possibly sleep in are on your side, on your back. Now, both are great when done properly. If not done properly, it goes back to that tension I just talked about. So how do you do these properly? Well, you really have to think about the posture you're assuming when you're upright. So if you're sleeping on your side, you want to be thinking about the posture from the front. Your head is located in the middle of your shoulders. You got a gap between your knees. So these are things you want to keep in mind when sleeping to make sure you're not waking up in that tension. So how do we accommodate for these things? With your head, you want to accommodate for this gap right here between your ear and your shoulder. Typically, you need a bit of a bigger pillow. Everyone's anatomical structure is a little different, so you got to find a pillow that works for you. But you want a pillow that when you put the weight of your head on it, maintains this gap right here. So if you have a pillow that's too small, you're sleeping here all night. If you have a pillow that's too big, you're sleeping here all night, and that tension comes back, right? So you really want a pillow that accommodates for this gap if you're sleeping on your side. And then to maintain the gap between your knees, you want a small pillow in between your knees to help maintain a neutral pelvis, because if you don't have that pillow there night after night after night, you're going to sleep with an imbalanced pelvis, and down the line, or even currently, that could be causing you problems. So that's how you sleep on your side properly, to wake up more refreshed, to wake up happier, But sleeping on your back, how you do that is you want to think about the posture you assume if you're looking from the side. So looking from the side, your ear should be over your shoulder, and this allows your body to take the weight of your head. Now, the average weight of a head is about the weight of a bowling ball, right? It's about 10 pounds. And so if your ear is forward from your shoulders, where is your head? Your head is all of a sudden over nothing, over dead space, not over your body. And all of a sudden, the entire weight of your head for hours and hours and hours is being taken by the back of your neck. So it's very important to think about the posture you sleep in, because the posture you sleep in is the posture you prepare your body to be when you're awakened. So you want to maintain your ears over your shoulders while you sleep. You want a very thin pillow for your head, or no pillow at all. I know some people don't like that because they're not just ready for that yet. A lot of people assume poor postures, and so they gradually have to go to a thin pillow or no pillow. And then to make sure there's no tension in your low back, simply a small pillow under your knees. So these are some great ways to sleep, to make sure you're waking up refreshed, to make sure you're waking up energized, and you're giving your body a chance to heal.
So that's great. tips. We actually now connecting you guys with one of the most important parts of our recovery tips, which is the way as we sleep. We sometimes forget about this, and we don't have proper pillows or proper mattresses, and this definitely will affect the quality of our life. And it's definitely a third part of your life that you're sleeping. Hopefully you're sleeping at least 8 hours a day, hopefully. But it's very important to for us to make sure that our body is supported when we are sleeping, because like Dr. Vincenzo was saying, if your neck or your hip is not supported, most likely you're going to be overstretching an area, creating a decompensation, and then later on it's going to definitely show some of this while you're training, while you are getting some injuries. It could be related to this. I sleep sideways always all my life. I think that this is something natural. We just choose how to sleep. And basically sleeping sideways, I definitely have to hold a pillow, and then I have to have another pillow between my legs, and I change position. Sometimes I forget, and I just kick the pillows out of the bed, and I have to get them back in. But the more you practice, the more it becomes very natural to be able to set up your position. And one thing for all those mothers listening to this podcast, as mothers, you actually setting the you're setting the posture of your kid since the moment you carrying them. And you actually, it's so important for you as mothers. I'm actually a doula. I studied to be a birth and postpartum doula, and because I'm really fascinating about how a woman can become a mother, how a woman can create and duplicate into a being, especially woman, that we actually are the one creating and holding this in our body. So I studied deeply connections, emotional and physical, and all this connection of woman and motherhood. And actually, in all these learnings, one of the biggest lessons I have learned is that when a woman is breastfeeding, because the breastfeeding at the beginning of the stage of life, it could be a long period of the day where the baby's breast is on the breastfeeding position. We need to make sure that the neck of the baby is in a proper position. Same when we're putting to sleep our baby, we need to make sure that the baby is in a proper position when they're sleeping, because we are generating these patterns, right? If we put the sleeping one side, maybe the kid starts learning that that's the way to sleep properly. So I think this is also important. Sometimes as mothers, we don't kind of see the impact that we can actually set from the beginning of the stage of life of our kids. And I see a lot of people. I have 5 brothers. We're 5 in my family. I have 3 brothers, and one of my brothers, every time I used to go and check, he used to sleep on his stomach. And that was for me so painful to see his neck all twisted for 8 hours. Somehow I don't know, but I know he snores. I know he has a lot of sinusitis issues. I don't know if it's related, because he sleeps all his life facing down with the head twisted to one side. Maybe this changes his air channel canal. I don't know exactly if this can affect if you're snoring. I don't know about you, Vincenzo, but have you heard about people that are sleeping facing down and they actually snoring?
Well, it could very well be connected. More times than none, it's not just one thing causing, well, the snoring in this case, or the sinusitis. It's usually a bunch of factors. And that's what people fail to realize, is it's not just one thing causing your problem.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of things, and one thing brought you attention to it.
Exactly. Now, one question. Since you are a different chiropractor, because you are kinesiologist, right? We have to make sure that people understand you chose to learn a chiropractic techniques in New Zealand, which, I mean, that's a great place to take chiropractic, because I mean,
college in the world. Yeah.
I've been in Auckland, I've been in New Zealand, beautiful place. If you can have a chance to check that country, is beautiful. The food is very healthy food, very real, natural food. Kiwis, super nice guys and super nice people, very culture rich place. So I mean, exciting that you took the program there. But as a kinesiologist, you told me before I start this interview, you told me, one of the things that I really want to make sure is that I want to know the root of the issues that the people come to me. Like, I'm not offering a solution without really knowing the diagnosis. Like, what is the main root of this issue? Is it coming from nutrition? Is it coming from body patterns when they're sleeping, or from when they're training? And like you're saying, it could be very complicated
Well,
to
Joe,
understand.
a lot of people think about their symptoms and curing their symptoms, but symptoms to me are collateral damage of the core issue, right? For instance, if you have someone with diabetes, but they also don't exercise or eat properly, is diabetes a core issue or collateral damage of them not eating and exercising properly, right? So I'm after the core issue that causes the collateral damage. And more times than none, it's the collateral damage that feels bad, but there's so much stress that someone has to go through to feel bad. Unless it's a one-time trauma where they're in a motor vehicle accident or they break something, that's a little different. But in terms of these repetitive stresses that build up, it's like the straw that broke the camel's back. But but the issue is people only focus on the straw that broke the camel's back, not the thousands of other straws that got them there in the first place, because they can't feel that, they're not aware of that, they're not thinking about that, because it's not something they're feeling, right? So going back to the 3 T's, the last T we have to talk about is toxins.
Okay.
And toxins can come in many forms, come in form of environmental stresses, which we don't really have too much control over, but it could also come in the form of what we put into our system. And this we do have control over. And that can come in the form of bad habits we have, like smoking cigarettes or drinking alcohol, or the food we eat. Now, one thing you can do right now that will make the biggest impact in terms of the toxins you put in your body is decrease the amount of sugar you have in your system. And I'm not talking about natural sugars you get from fruits. I'm talking about refined sugar. Sugar leads to inflammation in your system, and inflammation is a precursor to 80% of all diseases. So if you can decrease the amount of sugar, and a simple way to do that is next time you go grocery shopping, I challenge you to buy everything on your list without any bit of refined sugar. Now, refined sugar has many different names. It could come in the form of glucose, fructose, galactose, and the list goes on. But rule of thumb when you're shopping and trying not to buy anything with sugar in it, anything that ends in ose, O-S-E, most likely sugar. So stay away from anything that ends in O-S-E, your entire grocery list, and do that for a couple weeks and see how your body's feeling. I promise you, you start feeling amazing. Great tip to start reducing the toxins. Another way to get rid of toxins is what we did on Saturday at the sweat. Almost a good amount of toxins are stored in your subcutaneous fat. And when you sweat out those toxins. So great. Yeah. And then in terms of the mental stress we talked about earlier, the cold is a great way to combat the mental stress because you're trying to train your brain to be calm in a stressed out situation, which is very applicable to real life situations. So the 3 T's we talked about so far: toxins, traumas, and thoughts, right? And all these stressors that have been applying to your system and your spine your entire life have been adding up, and this is what we as chiropractors are trying to look for, is the stress that has been put on your system and the reasons why your nervous system is interfered with. So we as chiropractors, we work with all 3 of these stresses to see exactly which levels of your spine are being interfered with and correct them through chiropractic care, so your brain and body can communicate interference-free and at their best, and you can be healing and functioning at your best. So that way your body is so resilient that instead of adapting to the stressors, like the 3 T's, the stressors are adapting to you.
Yes. I think this is a very important way to see that chiropractors not only see the physical part of the body, they also work from the inside, especially like Dr. Vincenzo, because he's a kinesiologist. So he comes already with a background of understanding the movement in the body connection with the brain. So that's why I brought him today, because most of my guests are coming into a very holistic approach. Everyone that comes into this, from dentists to podiatrists to trainers, they come with like such a deep connection on brain body, plus all the factors that influence into our health. So we can talk for hours or days about this, but today I think we got to bring you some awareness about 3 things, which I'm going to recap together. Number 1, remember that we have free therapies. The therapy of walking is powerful and is so simple. If you can actually add about 15 minutes a day of walking, they will help you tremendously to relax your body and also to rebalance your hormones. Number 2, as I remember, we talk about sleep. How we sleep is super important for our spine. So if you can actually make sure that the position that you sleep is being supported, you are taking care of a third part of your life just by this. And number 3, we talk about extra therapies as the cold and heat exposure will help you to work on all those sweating out the toxins, but also to come down into your breath. So anytime you feel threatened, like a cold exposure where you feel like, oh, something's happening to me, I'm going to die on this cold exposure, then you can come and control your breath by becoming conscious of your breath. Right, Vincenzo?
Yeah, control your breath, calm your mind.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Vincenzo, for all
My
this.
pleasure.
Next time, I want to know a little bit more about how you take your very first, let's say, if I am your patient, how will you take me into this process? I want to hear more about this because this will be another 30 minutes where you want to tell us, like, how do you actually tell all this with somebody that is completely new for you? Would you send them a questionnaire where they actually answer the questions? Would you just create a conversation where they actually open to be honest with you in the office? Like, how do you actually approach to your clients to be able to be open? Because if somebody that is coming to you for the first time, they probably think, okay, he's going to crack my neck, he's going to pull my arms and legs, it's going to feel good. But they never will think that, like, wow, this was deep. It was a very deep treatment. So I'm actually curious how you take them on board, on new clients, new patients, and how you actually see the progression. Yeah. Yes. Next time. I know this is going to be another long 30-minute stop. So let's just focus on the next time on how is your practice, so people perhaps come to you and get to be and see the progression through the process with you. So thank you so much for your for all the knowledge and insight that you have shared with us with your experience and your practice. If you want to know more about Dr. Vincenzo, he has a couple of channels, but he focuses a lot into educating people through YouTube. He's making very short videos with conditions and solutions about what's happening to our bodies right now. So you can check his YouTube is Dr. Vincenzo Romualdi. I will add it on the notes. Also, we have him on Instagram and TikTok as a Dr. Vincenzo, but again, everything's going to be on the notes. Thank you, Vincenzo. Anything else that you want to add before we finish our call today?
Yeah, just make sure that whenever you're finding yourself in a stressful environment, to find your breath, and it will help to anchor you into that calmness state that you're wanting.
And the last one about humming and chanting. Vincenzo is actually a singer and he sings beautifully, and he knows the power of singing and chanting. It goes deeper into our body because it relaxes our vagus nerve that sometimes is compressed by having a very tight neck. So that's another tip that we give you. Start singing, chanting, and humming just because it's just a way to make us happy and smile bigger. Thank you so much, my friends. Remember,
thank you, Joa.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vincenzo. We're going to have you next week. And any comments, we are here for you. We're going to be talking more about how is this new approach of chiropractic, where you can actually not only work on like the body, but also your mind. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. Remember that together we are stronger.
We invite you to subscribe to this channel and share with your community. Please leave comments below, and if you like the episode, click the like button. Have a beautiful day.